Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be playing a Thanos-themed Clash Royale deck. And the idea with this is that we have a bunch of cards that are centered around Thanos. So we have Thanos himself as the bowler, as a big purple dude. We then have 5 cards that represent powers of the Infinity Stones that he gathered. So first we have the Evolved Witch with... this came to mind when I was reading the description, which says that the skeletons, they sacrifice themselves and they lend their souls to heal her. So it reminded me of the Soul Stone and kind of having power over other souls and getting more powerful from them. So the witch represents the Soul Stone. We have Boss Bandit, which represents the Space Stone, which allows him to teleport, just like the Boss Bandit can teleport backwards. Then for the Power Stone, which just unleashes massive bursts of energy, we have a card that does the same thing. Just a massive damage dealing card. Mother Witch is there for the Reality Stone because she's able to kind of alter reality and change something into something else. She's able to change cards into pigs, kind of like the Reality Stone does. And then Vines is there for the Time Stone because the Time Stone can manipulate time and slow time down. So we have a card that's able to kind of freeze other cards for a few seconds. And then the Bats and the Fireball are there for the battle on Titan, because when he was battling the Avengers, he turned a bunch of pieces of a shattered building into bats with I think the Reality Stone. And then when Iron Man was shooting all those little rockets at him, he took all the fire from the explosions and shot it back at him. So we have Thanos, we have several different Infinity Stone powered cards, and then a couple cards from the battle on Titan. So that's the idea for today's deck. And it should be decent. There's a couple spells in there, a couple decent cards. And the reason why this is the deck that I decided to build today was because the thoughts that I've been having are kind of centered around a quote that he said in the movie. And he said some good things. He was a smart guy, even though he was evil. Destroying half the universe isn't exactly a good thing, but he was a smart guy. He had some good quotes in there, and the one that I was thinking of was the perfectly balanced quote. When he said perfectly balanced as all things should be. And that's definitely something that rings true, and it's something that kind of reminded me of something I learned. What? Okay. It reminded me of something that I learned several years ago when I was a young lad. I think I was a junior in high school, and I was studying for the ACT, as a lot of high school students do. And I think we'll go with a Mother Witch over here just in case he tries to put any swarm card like skeletons down or a tombstone. But it reminded me of something that I learned during the ACT. I think it was in the math portion of the ACT, but essentially it said if you're unsure of an answer, typically avoid answers that use the words always or never. And I think this was in the case of, I don't remember exactly what it was for, but I think it was something along the lines of, like, if there was a statement, like, which of these statements is true? This certain integer is, and then it would give several statements. And some of the statements were like, this is always greater than this. This is never greater than this. And the advice was typically stay away from always or never, because very rarely are things dealt in extremes. Most of the time there's exceptions to the rules, and it kind of reminded me that, sometimes there's, it's kind of like having a balance. It's important not to go all one way or all the other. Just like it's important to, and kind of as an example to that, like typically it's important to tell the truth and to be upfront with someone, even if it's not what they want to hear. But it's not always the case. Like, for example, if your 7-year-old comes up to you and, please don't tell me you lose like this, that is a sad way to lose. But it's typically a good idea to tell the truth, but if your 7-year-old comes up to you and asks how babies are made, do you really want to be upfront and tell them? Probably not. So that's probably one of the cases in which it would be an exception. And the same is true with any of the activities that we do in our daily life. How if we overdo something and go to the extreme with something, it's it's not a healthy thing, even if it is a good hobby. Like even if the hobby is reading the Bible, which is a good healthy thing to do. If you're doing that for 5 hours a day, it can be a little excessive. And so it's important to have a balance with everything that you do, because even if you think it's going to take away or make it harder for you to achieve something, it's not going to. Like, for example, if you are swamped with school, okay, if you're swamped with school and you just feel stressed and you feel like you need to study constantly to succeed at your class, you may be overworking yourself. You may be studying for, okay, you may be studying for, 8 hours a day. You may be spending all of your time on that. And you may think that if you spend time on anything else, it's just going to make it harder for you to succeed at school. But in reality, that's not the case, because when you do something excessively, you end up getting burnt out of it. And so if you spend more time taking care of your physical self, if you spend more time, if you dedicate a little bit of time to eating healthier, preparing meals, maybe going to the gym and taking care of your physical health, then that'll ultimately help you to achieve your school goals, because when your body is functioning better, when it's healthier, then you're ultimately going to find it easier to have more energy when you're going to your classes. You're going to have more energy when you're studying. So I guess what I'm saying is it's just important to have a balance in everything, not to overdo too much of a good thing. And I guess that's what I want to leave you with today. I mean, actually, I'd like to leave you guys with a win. So hopefully if we can come back here, we're going to go bowler in this lane just to hopefully keep this tower alive. And then we will Vines the single musketeer, because we have a couple of witches going down the lane. We'll go bats here to hopefully distract the musketeer for a second, and we'll fireball that just because there's a lot of troops there, and I would say that's value. And this is okay. This is not good. We don't have anything for the bandit, and I think that'll be another L, because Vines is not going to do enough. Imagine using a pump on defense and actually having it work. That was a couple losses, not ideal, but hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you can maybe evaluate where you're at in life and seeing if you're overdoing something, and if so, maybe balancing that out with other areas of your life, so that you can ultimately succeed at all the goals you have and not spend too much time on one or the other. So hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you all soon.